All right, it's time to be a soccer talker and go beside two blokes with our own Matthew Scianitti and our soccer analyst, Steven Caldwell, two of the best in the biz. So, Jesse Marsch and Canada make 10 changes after their 4-2 win over Ukraine. Not as explosive a contest Tuesday. They still get a trophy. But what does it say, Steven, about this Canadian team that they play a completely different style of game and still able to get a result?
I think it says that they're very competitive, Jay. They're a team that want to win every single opportunity. And it also shows that Jesse Marsch has a deep trust in this entire squad. He wants to make sure that every one of these men get minutes leading up towards home World Cup. He wants to make sure they've went through experiences like tonight where it's a different kind of scenario. They're playing a team probably as athletic as them, and they're going to compete in a different way. And they showed that they're willing to roll their sleeves up and compete like that, Matthew. Tonight was a scrappy game. It was not a great game to watch, particularly in that second half. But what I did like about tonight was the defending. Solid throughout. Looked like, even with a number of changes, that they looked like a team that were not going to concede any goals, and someone who can, you know, at the highest level can always find moments. And in the end, Canada were the side that looked like they might nick it. And also, last but not least, the penalty shootout. To go through an experience like that, very important.
Yeah, they're going to have that, Jay. A situation like that they could have in the knockout rounds next year.
Matthew, I want to ask you about the chippiness of this affair. 9 yellow cards in the match. How you were down at the pitch. How chippy was it on field level?
Yeah, well, when former AC Milan and Barcelona player Frank Kessie kicked the ball into Canada's bench, Kyle Larin, who had just been substituted, got off and looked like he was going to go at Frank Kessie. But you know what? That's exactly what Jesse Marsch wants, doesn't he, Stevie? He's been telling us for just over the last year that Canadian players might be too nice, that he wants them to go ahead and assert themselves and be aggressive. And you could see that over these two games, but particularly tonight. You know, Stevie, the one thing that has been clear over the course of this last year under Jesse Marsch is they have seen a lot of different situations through the 4-0 throttling that they got against the Dutch in Rotterdam, through that real good effort that they had in Bordeaux against the French, and then, of course, the Copa America run and learning everything they did about South American soccer. But particularly a team like Côte D'Ivoire, the African champions, they could face a team like that in the knockout rounds. And if you don't bring the attitude, the aggression, the assertiveness, a team like that will run all over you. And Côte D'Ivoire tried to do that a lot over the course of the night, but Canada, and Steve and I were just talking about this, in a squad that was much changed from the one that you'll probably see in a World Cup game, in a knockout game. Surely, Canada really held their own.
Okay, this one's for both of you, and maybe, Steven, you could start. The attention now turning to the Gold Cup. What do you guys feel Jesse Marsch and the Canadians learned from these two friendlies that they can use going forward?
Well, different types of opposition, of course, not playing against CONCACAF teams, but what they did learn was, again, that strength and depth, that they can trust a number of the members of the squad, and they're going to have to try and get through a competition like the Gold Cup, Jay. They're going to have to rely on other players. They can't keep playing the same 11, the same 14 or 15 guys, so I think that was very important. And there's a lot of confidence going through this squad. There's a maturity coming out of this. I like how you talked about the competitiveness, Matthew, but I feel like there's a control to it now, whereas maybe 3 or 4 years ago it was a bit erratic, you know, it was a bit of bravado. Now I don't feel like that. I feel like there's a chest out aspect of it from Canada. So they're willing to mix it with anybody. They're willing to put any 11 out there and feel confident that they can get a result. And they've got a quiet confidence that things are just building in a nice way this summer, and that if the ball rolls one way or another, you're going to get a bit of luck in these tournaments, that Canada can go all the way and actually pick up the Gold Cup trophy, which would be phenomenal for the confidence and certainly phenomenal for the programme as they head towards these home games at BMO on June 12th.
I know Stevie doesn't put a lot of credence in a friendly tournament like this one, but I think it really does matter. And speaking to Stefan Eustáquio after the game, the one thing I've noticed throughout the week, and it was really punctuated by what Eustáquio said, is Canada now sees themselves as favorites to win the Gold Cup, and if they don't win the Gold Cup, they're going to consider it a disappointment. And the one thing, the step after step under Marsch, they've gone through different situations, they've learned, they've adjusted, and then they've gone ahead and made that incremental step. You know, you look back to the third place game against Uruguay, they weren't able to seal the deal, and then in the Nations League, although you can't really compare the two competitions, they're able to secure that third place win against the Americans. Putting their hands on a trophy tonight, will kind of give them a feeling of, hey, you know, we can do this. This is what it feels like. This is kind of the mental preparation, the physical preparation, and the aggressiveness we're going to need, because now going into next week, if they don't, at the very least, make it to the final, it will be a disappointment. That's where the expectations are with this team now. They keep rising and rising, Jay.
Just like the two of you, this is a terrific debut edition of our latest segment. This has been
Aside Two Blokes.